Welcome to Books and Things. It's been a couple weeks, and as you can see, I'm now wearing oxygen. This is my reward for smoking all my life. I have now COPD, but I can still breathe most of the time. Anyway, I wanted to get that cleared up, let you know what that is. And that's one of the reasons I've been away, because the weather tells me whether I can go out or not. So, welcome, and I'm hoping you're going to enjoy the show. The gentleman that I have on is the same gentleman that I had on a year ago.
About a year ago.
Jim Bennett or Jim Walker or...
Jim Bennett writing as James Michael Walker.
There you go. Jim, excuse me, Jim likes to write about William Gillette. Very interesting, because he's never met William Gillette, because Gillette has been dead a long time.
Yeah, since 1943.
43, year after I was born.
Yes.
Anyway, he's the first book you hadn't even read. I haven't even been to Gillette for a while.
Yeah, I hadn't been to Gillette's Castle for probably 20 years.
Unbelievable. But anyway, he's got book one was the Flying Corpse.
Case of the Flying Corpse.
And book two now is Accounts of William Gillette, where he's developed some different stories in the book. And I don't know where you get the ideas from, but they're good.
Well, you know, most of the ideas from these came from, and why I did a short story was, the more research I did about William Gillette when I was writing the first book, there was so many fascinating, facets to the guy. There were so many things he did. He was, he was an actor. He was a playwright. He was a set designer. They say he's the father of modern acting. And then he knew, incredibly famous people. Charlie Chaplin. He gave Charlie Chaplin his start in the theater.
Is that right?
Yep. And he was good friends with Albert Einstein and a lot of the big names of the day.
Yeah.
And so it was like too much to be able to just do it all at Gillette's Castle.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'd branch out and, and a few of the stories are actually based on real incidents. I just fictionalized them and, changed the name. But there's still a lot of the places, most of the places are real. His houseboat, the Aunt Polly, was real. The theater in Phoenix, Arizona was real. So
I had somebody ask a question today. Do they still have the train running around at Gillette
No,
Castle?
they don't. The train, after the state took it over, the train was dismantled. It got worn and run down. And they actually sold the train to Lake Compound.
Oh, really?
Lake Compound ran the train for about 30 years in their, around their thing. And they scrapped it, I'm not sure, but how many years ago, maybe 10 years ago, they scrapped it. And the funny part was, the Gillette Castle wanted to get the trains back for display, but they did manage to get the two engines. One of them, through the Friends of Gillette Association, who's helps maintain the castle, they restored one of the engines. It's now on display up at Gillette's Castle in the visitor center.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'll have to go up there. I haven't been up there in years myself. It's quite a place, but reading your book, that's the kind of book you don't want to set down. But the stories are short enough that you can take a break in between. And you've got quite a mind.
Thank you.
I don't know where this came from, but Jim's also a member of the Kappa organization, Connecticut Authors and Publishers, and down here at Southeastern Connecticut, we have our own chapter, and that's how I met Jim. And we have quite a crew.
We do. We have a great crew.
Nice crew.
I encourage people all the time. People, and I'm sure you get the same thing. People go, I've always wanted to write a book. I don't know how to start on it. Well, if you remember, I was in Kappa for almost 2 years before my book was thing, because I didn't have the faintest idea how to go about it, how to start it, how to publish, and a great resource for me.
And if anybody is out there, you want to write a book, you don't know how to start it, call me, get a hold of me. I can get you to the meetings. And it's people like Jim that starts, and you don't know where to go. But the thing is, if you go to Kappa, we can get rid of some of your bad habits.
Right.
And because there's a lot of things, especially when you're going to some publisher that rip you off.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing about Kappa that I learned was, number one, I had that romantic view that someday I'd send it off to a publisher and they'd send me a huge check and then I'd,
and get you an
skate
offer.
the rest of my life, right?
Yeah.
But it just doesn't happen that way.
No.
And as to listening to people and you realize, okay, there's a lot more to it. That was good. That was all right. Because I still really wanted to write a book, so I stuck with it. But then there was so many helpful hints about how to go about it. There was a few times when I'd inquired into these publishing companies online and stuff.
Yeah.
The money they wanted was
$3,000-$4,000.
$12,000. I think to myself, and I think, oh my God, if I had spent that money, I'd never get that money back in the book sales.
No.
And
that's the problem. We had an agent as a guest speaker said, if Patterson makes 50 cents a book, he's lucky.
Right.
Because there's no money unless you sell a quantity, a huge quantity.
Right.
I mean, the guy's a millionaire, multi-millionaire. But it took a while to get up there.
Yeah.
But if a book sells for $19 and all the author is getting is 50 cents.
Right.
Because they have all these kiosks that are advertising the book. You got to pay for those. You got to pay for the advertising for the book. And by the time they get through with all the expenses that they are heaving on you for your book, you're into them like 20 grand.
Yeah. That's the other thing is I tell people if you're going to write because you want to make money, well, just learn
Get
to trade.
another job.
You know what I mean? But if you love to write and for me, my first goal was just I wanted to have a book I could put on my shelf at home and say that's a book. And I wanted to show my kids
Your
that
dad
you can
wrote
do
this.
it. Yeah, I wanted to show my kids that you can do something if you put your mind to it.
Oh yeah.
But of course, like we're all chasing the dream. Sure, would I love a call from Penguin Books tomorrow? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'm very happy. Just people, they seem to like my books. They seem to enjoy them. I haven't had any.
In doing what you're doing, you get a first-hand handshake.
Right.
People want the book.
Right.
And it does fill your pride to say, would you sign this for me?
Yeah.
So,
it does.
yeah, I'd be happy to.
It's nice hearing from people that you don't even know that send you nice compliments and stuff. It's.
And when's your next one coming out?
Yeah.
I get that all the time. It's been like 5 or 6 years. But I think the nice part about writing books, and you try to write for other people. You don't write for yourself.
Right.
And somebody may not like that paragraph. I'll take that out and rearrange it. And I know I've done that. But you try to write for the other person, and that's what makes it more interesting because the person that's looking at it says, "Oh, he's writing to me."
Yeah. Well, one of my things I do is I do put a lot of people I know, their names in the book. They're not necessarily, and I tell them this all the time, just because this guy is a killer and a psychopath doesn't mean I think you're a killer or a psychopath. I'm just paying homage to you by putting your name to him, you know. Also, when my big thing when I write is I like to try to back up everything that I write.
Yeah.
When I write a murder mystery or a crime or whatever, and I've always hated it, in old movies and other times in books and TV shows, in fact, where they turn around and in the end they go, but you didn't know about the telegraph I got last night.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, how am I going to figure it out if I didn't get the telegraph? You know what I mean? I don't know, Yeah. So I always try to make sure that I back up all my clues and all my stuff, So like if in the 15th chapter he says, oh my God, he was at the store. Well, you can look in chapter 2 and it says, yeah, he went to the store. You know what I mean? That's
and that's a good idea. But
Yeah.
you must have to keep track of a lot of things, especially if you got a lot of actors in there.
Yeah, believe me, there's many times when I've written like 2-3 pages and I was like, oh, that's the best, yeah, oh. And I went, that makes no sense because he died, 4 chapters ago.
Maybe I should make him live.
Yeah, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, But that's part of it, you know what I mean? Which is also keeps it interesting for me because sometimes, I know it's that old cornball thing where they say, oh, I don't write, it just comes out of me. But sometimes you surprise yourself. You're like, oh,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I could, and it does. It's sort of like as you read it, you're sort of reading what you're writing, and you're drawing
Yeah.
that.
When I had my Mystic book out, must have been 2 or 3 years later, and I'm looking through and I'm going, this paragraph's the same as that paragraph.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got the same thing, only like 20 pages apart.
Right.
So I corrected it. And the other day, somebody said, I was reading one of your books. He said, do you know you repeated paragraph such and such in the back of the book? I said, I know, it's been corrected. You got an early copy.
Yeah.
But you have to keep track of what you're talking about.
Right.
Because the reader will. They'll let you
Yes.
know.
Oh yeah. I've had people. I just did the Mr. Garlic Fest this August, and I had a woman come up to me who she said she tried to nail me on my facts, and she said she kept Googling everything. She goes, "But you were right every time."
Yeah.
I didn't believe it, but like somebody said to me, called me out on writing. I called it the Big Apple.
All right.
And they said, no, they didn't call it the Big Apple back then. When you looked it up, yeah, they did. The term came out in the early 1900s.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So it's,
Huh.
and that's a lot of the fun thing is when I go back, I look at things it was an exciting time, the turn of the century. I mean, there was a lot of new innovations and stuff,
Yeah.
stuff like Coca-Cola was coming out and things like that, and cars and all sorts of things. So it's kind of neat to look back on it, see it, and then try to incorporate that into the story.
Yeah. And that's when I did my 50s book on Mystic. And I try to make sure that what I was talking about was in the 50s.
Right.
But then again, it was memories of mine
Right.
that I could remember. Like I remember when they first came out with ink pens.
Yeah.
And stick them in your pocket, you have a big blue spot right down there. Ruined more shirts. Yeah. But you have to look at it and say, yeah, that's the way it was.
Right.
And the greatest thing that somebody ever said to me is, a guy wrote me from Florida and said, you don't know me and I don't know you. How the hell did you find out about my childhood? Yeah. And he's like 3 or 4 years older than me. Yeah. But you grew up at the same time. You know everything. Right. And then I said, got the facts right.
Yeah. It's a nice, I don't know, I like, for me, like, so a lot of people say to me, why don't you modernize? Why don't you modernize your books? Make them in the present day and stuff. But, those old style mysteries and whoddonits don't really work these day and age because of forensics and science. Put some
monsters in there and cleavers
and all the TV shows out now and stuff. I mean, they call you on everything. Go, well, yeah, but you could have just done a DNA test. Well, that's that's not the
not in the hundreds. Yeah. And that's true. You have to back it up. You want the reader to think that you're writing a real story.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say it's fiction, but they're going to read that through and say, I think I remember that.
Yeah. I've had people come up to me and make points to me, and I'm looking at them like, I made that up. Like, that's not really a true fact. But it was funny. Like a woman one time asked me. She was a teacher, and she said, "Do you mind if I use your book in my class? Because part of my curriculum in my history class is, history is written by the winners. And she said, I'd like to show them that though your book is fiction, it could have been real. Yeah. Yeah. And I said, well, that's what I was, that's what I was going for. And I tell people, I say, hey, 500 years, they might, if somebody dug up one of my books, they might go, hey,
did that happen?
This guy was a detective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's true because, like, your first book, and you have so many facts in there about the furnace that was the furnace on the boat. Yep. And I think, wow.
Yeah.
You had a lot of little things in there that had to be.
Right.
If that was real at all, that had to be there.
Right.
And even though the whole thing was fiction, you gotta still have the right things.
Right.
Like Sherlock without his pipe.
Yeah. Well, in the second book, in the short stories, there's so many facts that are that are true in them.
Yeah.
You know, the theaters that they occurred at, and like I said, the trains that ran at the time, and the Aunt Polly, his houseboat, and you know, without giving too much away, in the final story, is based on a true incident. Only it was an accident, not a murder.
Okay.
You know, but even I said, you know, when I read about this incident, this accident, I said to myself, that could have easily been a murder.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So I took that and turned it around, and
that's cool.
you know.
Well, I think anytime we have such fascinating writers.
We do.
We have, and Rose drives me crazy with her book.
Yeah.
I mean, that girl's got so much in there, and some of that is true.
Yes.
And I asked her, I said, how'd you find out about the wine? Oh, she said, I visited every wine. Yeah.
Now that's research. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah. Boy, and the red ones are good. But it's just, it's fun to write.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, I like it for this area. Like I say, if you know, I sell my books are sold up at the Gillette's Castle in the gift shop.
Yeah.
And I like that because people, they go to the castle, then they go home, and they can read the book in California or Africa or wherever they come from.
Oh, I didn't see that room in there.
Yeah, but they can look at it and go, well, I was here and I saw it, you know. And a lot of local people, you know, oh my God, Gillette's Castle, I know Gillette's Castle, you know. So that interests them. But
and most of them don't know them as well as they think they do.
Right, but you know, everybody likes. Like I'll tell you a perfect example. I just read a book by Ace Atkins, and he took over the Robert Parker's Spencer for Hire.
Yeah.
And he's done an excellent job, but I was always a big Spencer fan, so, you know, I always pick him up and read him.
Yeah.
So I pick it up, and he's got two scenes, one at the Mystic Depot and one at the Elm Grove Cemetery.
Oh, really?
And it was just, you know, to me it was like, wow, I mean, that's, you know, wow.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I was a little disappointed because I was like, he could have put a lot more in there about Mystic and, you know, and the Depot and, you know, but, you know, but I'm just saying that that's the kind of thing that people, you know, they like to connect with, you know.
Well, it's like when I wrote my Mystic book, I was going to call it Growing Up in the 50s. And somebody said, you better put Mystic on it. Yeah. He said, that'll sell. Growing Up in the 50s won't.
Yeah, well, you know what, but you're probably right, though. I mean, you know.
So I put Growing Up, Mystic in the 1950s, growing up as a teenager, you know, kid. And while the whole story is about me growing up during that time, the title Mystic was on there, and people buy that.
Yes.
And thank God, because that's what it is. It was Mystic in the 1950s. And so many people my age look back and think, I remember that. You forget a lot when you're young, you know? You know, it's taking a little piece of time and writing a big book about it. And that's all you're doing.
Right.
You're writing it so it make it interesting to somebody.
Right.
And they'll say, well, you know, that was a Goblin shirt and I didn't like it. But look at this guy's written a book about it. Yeah. And that's the flavor, and that's the ability. Like with Rose, I couldn't imagine where she was going with that book. But anyway, you can see Jim and me on November 19th at the Pawcatuck VFW. We're having a book signing, and it's a great time. That you can't see that. Do you have that poster, Frank? We're having a book signing at the Pawcatuck VFW November 19th from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock. If people are still coming in, we will stay. Pawcatuck VFW is on 160 South Broad Street in Pawcatuck. Plenty of parking. There's ramps to get in and out. We're going to have a raffle, and there's probably going to be about 19 authors there. And 3 are nationally known authors. Tish Raby writes Cat in the Hat books, and she also writes for Disney and Sesame Street. If you've got a Cat in the Hat book, pick it up and look at it. It's Tish Raby, R-A-B-E, Roby, R-A-B-E. And our other national is Nancy Butler, who is a national speaker. She goes everywhere, and she's got several books. Wonderful lady. And Ruth Crocker is going to be there from Mystic. And Ruth wrote a play, a one-person play. She's written books. Her latest book is on Yellowstone National Park.
Yep.
And I imagine that is great. So come on down, and you'll be hearing more about it. It's going to be posted on our menu board, and we'd like to see it. If you'd like to see us in person, that's the time to do it. And then we're going to do the same thing on December 8th at the Mystic Arts Center in Mystic. And that'll be a Saturday afternoon. I'll give you more information later. But Jim is going to be there.
Be there?
I'll have all his books available. Maybe Sherlock Holmes will be there.
Who knows?
And but you're going to see a lot of people who have been on the show. So if you've seen the show and see a lot of the authors, you're going to meet them there. And that'd be the time to get a nice little Christmas gift that keeps on giving. And there's the poster. We have a lot of authors who have written 3 or 4 books, but it'll be worth it to come on down and see those people that you saw here on the TV show. And I think that's going to be well worth it, just to talk to them and find out who they are.
Yes.
Thank you, Frank. But anyway, back to your book. So when's the next one coming out?
Well, I'm actually working on the third one. The third one is going to be a sequel or a continuation of the first book.
Yeah.
It's a full-length thing. I got to admit, I've been trying to do it every year. I was hoping to get it out long before Christmas, but about a month ago, I was about 2/3 of the way through, and I scrapped it and started over.
Oh.
I'm not started totally from scratch. I'm taking pieces out and putting it back in, but I just got a few little glitches I got to get past. I have the story, and I have the ending, and you know how it is,
Oh, yeah.
I got the ending, and I still haven't got the beginning, put together, right? So part of it is, like I say, going back and forth and making sure everything's lined up.
I should point out that Jim is a chef, and if he invites you for dinner, be careful, especially around Halloween time.
Yeah.
He's been known to lose people. And if you start writing about that in books,
I did in my second book there. I did do my one story about the restaurant. It was set in a restaurant in New York City.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I used local restaurateurs and men I worked for before as the characters, or based on their names. You know. I would like to do more of that, down the road, but it's kind of tough to fit it all in. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is. It is, because then the next thing you know, the book is this big.
Right.
And you can't do that.
Yeah.
They scare you. Who's that guy that writes the big, thick books? He just passed away. I grab those books, and you can use them for weights.
Yeah.
I mean, the damn book's about that big. It's 8.5 by 11.
Oh, yeah. You can use
my
them.
God.
Some of the old Robert Jordan, the science fiction writer, you could use them for step stools.
Yeah. Yeah, and people want a 250, 300-page book.
Yeah, that seems to be the formula that they've told me. You know what I mean?
Plus, it costs more to print more than.
Yeah, it would be like anything else. If my story took 450 pages, I'd write 450 pages. But most of the time, you think that you got 1,000 pages, and then you look down, and by the time it's printed, it's like 300. Okay, all right.
What happened here?
Yeah.
And it's tough to really write a book with a proper ending.
Right.
And it's not something you can really sit and do. And when you write a book, you got to know the beginning, the end, and the middle. How do you get from the beginning to the end?
Right.
And one of the Kappa members taught us that. But that's what you have to know. And I think, like I said, I've read some of the books that we've written out of the Kappa group. Unbelievable.
You know, that's the pity. It's really almost a pity because they are some very, very talented writers.
Yes.
Very, very talented people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, you want to let the public know, number one, you should be promoting literacy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what? If you took, cut out 5 minutes of Facebook a day, stupid TV and, the rest, and spent it with a good book, you'd be surprised, I think, how much more entertained you'd be.
It does enlighten you.
It does.
It really does.
It does.
Yeah,
People look at me and say, "Oh, how do you know so much about Because I read. You know what I mean? Because
And I never used to read that much until I got involved in this TV show. Now I'm reading all the time.
Yeah, and I especially, I do encourage a lot of parents. There was a couple last night that came and bought 2 books from me.
Oh yeah.
And they had a son who was about, I'd say 16 or 17. And they're saying, well, he likes to read. We're trying to encourage him to read. And I said, well, you should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because being the best at a video game or something is really not going to make him more articulate or.
Plus, whether he realizes it or not, he's learning English. He's
Right.
learning grammar. And someday he may want to write a book.
Right.
And you have that to fall
Yes.
back on.
Yeah. It's So I always tell people that. I say feed your head. Read a book, and it's true that you don't really need to go that far to find a great book.
I can't believe we only got a couple minutes left.
All right. Well.
No, books are fantastic, and they're not dying. They're even opening new bookstores. Barnes and Noble's dying, but the little bookstores are still out there. I want to thank you for being here, Jim. I really
Thank
appreciate
you for having
it.
me, Tom.
Once again. And you can come here anytime. I'm waiting for that 3rd book now.
All right.
And you can see us at the book signing on November 19th, and come meet the authors. And I think you've seen everybody here. I can send you a list. Another thing is that buying a book as a Christmas gift is something that'll just keep going on and on. It doesn't die. It doesn't go out of favor. It's just.
You know what? One of the greatest quotes is from it was on a book card from the Bank Square Books and Mystery.
Yeah.
It said, "I always give books for presents because there's never been a tie that changed a man's life."
That's true.
You know?
I like that. I like that. But books can. The great Christmas gifts. We got children's books there. We're gonna have a ton of those. So there's always something that you can do with a book, and nobody exchanges them. They take them, they read them, they love them. If you have any questions, you can contact me at email at santostom@comcast.net. Watch your past shows on YouTube. Go to sec-tv.org and press the button that says YouTube. I want to thank you for watching, and it's always a pleasure to entertain you on Thursday nights. And you should be reading. Cuddle up with a good book. And it's getting cold nights.
Yes.
Wow. Be kind, smile. I'll see you next time. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Tom.